Hi, my name is Kelsey Dams. I am a public services associate at the library, and I'm joined by Dr. Bliss.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bliss. I'm an assistant professor in the psychology and family science department. I'm in the psychology side of the psychology and family science department.
So, Dr. Bliss, why is undergraduate research so important? Why is it pushed at the W so much?
It's so important because you can expand the students' knowledge of their topic or their interests, obviously, by allowing them that hands-on kind of independent study, going down a pathway of a certain topic, which we don't really get to in a lot of classes. Like most of the classes, we cover the whole range, and someone wants to study something specifically, they can do that. The other reason why this is so important in the area of psychology is if you are planning on being in psychology as your job, graduate school is kind of a thing that you're going to have to wrestle with. And you're competing with students to get into those positions. So when you have that research experience and that research knowledge, you stand out above and beyond the other students because you're already prepared and ready to start that program. So it's really important for our psychology majors and minors or anyone who wants in that area to actually get some research in.
So, when you were in undergrad, did you participate in research at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot in undergrad. I went to the University of Kansas, which is a huge school. It makes the University of Mississippi look very small.
Hmm.
We have a medical center there. We have like kind of the home of neuro research, and I was a neuroscience major. I wasn't a psychology major. So I was in, I want to say, three different research labs as an undergrad. Yeah, one of
That's a
them,
lot.
it is a lot. It is a lot. One I was in for 2 years, and I actually worked at the neurological clinic, and we saw patients with neurodegenerative disorders. So I actually worked with patients with their neurologists.
Wow.
Another one I studied smoking, and the other one was really nerdy. I'm not sure if I should go into too far of detail, but we did coding for a new way to analyze MRI data from neurodegeneration and brains.
Wow, that is really, that's
Yeah.
nerdy, but really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a wide range of
Yeah.
things, very nerdy. Yeah.
So, what skills would you say that you took away from that experience as an undergraduate?
I learned I did not want to be a medical doctor. That's
Which
a
is,
good skill.
yeah, important to know.
Yeah. But I learned one, how research should actually be conducted. I learned what it's really like getting, all the things. I got to see real life examples of like construct validity and, following rules and all of that stuff. But I also got to work with clinical patients, which taught like you get like a whole different perspective on a disorder when you actually move away from the textbook and you start seeing people who have it, or you start seeing how the data comes together. I think one of the greatest things that I took away from my research experience is that you can have this super cool moment with like only the answer to this particular question, like in the entire world, in that
Yeah.
moment, like in that, like once you have that experience, you get bit by what we call the research bug. And that's where it all starts and goes from there. But it's so invaluable. And those connections I made with people, like I have a family member now who kind of needs a neurologist. So I can always just call him back up and say, hey, remember me? I sat in your office for hours at a day. Um, yeah, so there's just so many things that you can get from it. It's hard to pin down just one.
So, are you currently working on any research right now?
Yes. Yes, I am.
What are you working on?
Well, I can't say too specifically because some of the people who watch this might actually be participants in the studies.
Okay.
Um, but I am bringing back something that I had done for my master's thesis, which is research on misinformation and continued influence. And we're looking into attitudes towards like racism and homophobia. I'm also doing some research on professor behavior in classrooms and how that affects the social cognitive aspects of learning in that environment. What else are we doing? We have some memory things, but that's about as much as I can go into
Okay.
detail. Cognitive and social psychology. That's good.
That's good. So do you have student like assistants working on this currently?
Yes, I have 4 students in my lab right now. They are absolutely amazing. They are doing things from helping me do some lit review search, like finding some articles for me as we write our stories, our literature. They're also doing like survey construction. They're actually collecting data in person. And we have one student who's doing an independent project in the lab. So they're taking an extension of my thesis and they're doing it as their own. So I'm just kind of guiding them through that entire process. Yeah, we have 4 right now.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your mentoring style with your students?
You know, what is mentoring style? Um, I think I take a very relaxed approach to things. I'm not very authoritative. I'm not going to be like, you do it this way and not tell you why and you just follow the rules. I think the best way to explain it is I'm kind of like a guide on the side. Like, here's what we're doing, here's why, I'll give you everything you need. And if I see that you're lacking in some area, we're going to focus on that and then move to the next thing, right? So it's kind of individualized for each student, but mostly I would say guide on the side, helping you through the process, and you get to be a part of my process at the same time. Give and take.
So I know in psychology there's a lot of different topics and branches. What would you say is your specialty? Like if um a student was like looking for a mentor, like what kind of project would you think you would be a good mentor on?
Well, my PhD is in experimental psychology. So I'm kind of trained in the methodology portion. So any topic I'll take on. Obviously, I prefer things in my area, which is mostly cognitive psychology. I'm really interested in memory. I'm really interested in how people make decisions and judgments in the future based off their attitudes. And my biggest passion is studying classrooms and interactions between professors and students and peers and technology with those. So if it falls under thought and decisions and memory, I'm your person. I'm gonna be best with that. But I'll consider everything except for developmental psychology. I do not do that. No
Fair enough.
kids, no kids.
Okay, fair enough. You have to have your limit.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some characteristics of a good student researcher? What do you look for when you're bringing students into your lab?
So those are 2 completely different questions for me.
Okay.
What makes a good student researcher is one that is motivated, is curious, someone who's a critical thinker. And I know we hear critical thinking all the time, critical thinking, critical thinking. Someone who is able to actually critique and gap spot the literature and find what's missing, what's new, and has that just motivation. That makes a great researcher. Um, in any field, I think that applies. As
Mhm.
far as my lab, I am a little picky on who I take in. It's not just I want to do it, so let's do it. I primarily I make the students apply.
Mhm.
And I prefer students who are interested in going to graduate school first. So if we have a student who's interested in PhD, I'll put them over a student who's interested in master's because the requirements for those programs are different, right?
Mhm.
If a student knows for sure they want to do research, absolutely, I love it. If we have one who's like, I don't really know if research is my thing or if I want to do like clinical psychology, I'll consider those. But mostly that's my main criteria is, do you want to go to grad school? Is this going to help you to actually get there? And then I start looking at other qualifications like GPA, the courses they've taken. We prefer all the students to have taken our intro to methods course before coming into lab. There's a lot of other classes I would like to say are required, but usually people don't do those until senior year.
Yeah.
So I have to, cut back. But my main thing is, do you really want to do this? Why do you want to do it? And is it going to actually benefit you into the future? Otherwise, I think there are some other people that would probably be better for other projects.
Okay. So last question, do you have any advice for students who are looking to start their independent research?
Starting like an independent project on their own and looking for an advisor to mentor them through that process.
Mm-hmm.
Start with the person you feel the most comfortable with first. Ask them what they think about your topic. Ask them what they think about that area, and also what other people might be better suited, I said it again, more better suited for that project. Like I've had a student recently come to me and we have a rapport together and they asked about this particular project and I had to say, I would love to be your mentor, but this is not it for me. I have to send you to someone else. So I would say start there with finding who you need to really ask and then start the process, right?
Mhm.
Don't, I feel horrible saying this. I did have one student who wrote an entire literature review on a topic and present me the paper and asked to do independent research. And I had to say no,
Oh,
just because it wasn't viable, right? We can't, there's a lot of restrictions. We don't have, a neuro clinic available. We don't have eye tracking software.
yeah.
Right. So if you're thinking about it, I would say find a professor in the area that you're comfortable with, talk to them, get their opinions, get their ideas, and then move forward from their suggestions. Just because they're not your mentor doesn't mean that they can't give you advice, right?
Right.
That would be my main thing. And if you don't have an idea, think about what you're interested in most. What are you passionate about? What made you want that major? And start looking there for some ideas.
That was great. That's great advice. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me.
No problem. This has been super fun. Anytime you guys need anything else, just let me know. We are accepting applications for students for next year.
Hmm.
You have some students on the wait list, but they're not guaranteed. So
Well, good to know. Thank you so much and have a good day.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.